Thanks everyone for joining me today for another conversation on the Travel Collective, where I get to meet travelers and talk about amazing places and experiences that I don't always get to have. So by talking to people, I enjoy meeting others. So today I'm meeting Grace Simmons, who has done a lot of solo travel. So I'm excited to hear about that. So welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much, April. I'm happy to be here.
Great, thanks. So take me back to the first time that you decided to do a solo travel experience, what that looked like, maybe where you went, kind of that backstory on that.
Sure. I'll start with this. So my parents are missionaries, right? They travel to Western Africa. So as a kid, I used to travel, but it was with my parents, right? And even when I was older, my family kind of lived all over the place. So I'd be that kid that traveled by myself. Again, it was family to family kind of thing, right? And so as an adult, the idea of like something just occurred. Like, I don't think I've ever traveled for fun by myself, right? I've gone with
Yeah.
groups and whatever. And so there was like a friends group, or a friend of mine were going to go to Iceland. And I
Oh,
was like, oh my goodness, I was flying to Germany and I happened to wake up like just randomly on the flight. It was at night. And I opened up the little like window and we were flying what felt like we're flying through the northern lights, right? Just gorgeous.
oh
And you're
my
up there in the sky.
gosh.
And I was like, so I need to come back to Iceland, right? I was like, first off, they didn't even make like a huge announcement or whatever. They were being
Really?
respectful because people were asleep.
Oh, yeah, but you're like, come on,
What?
people. Yeah, we all want to be woken up to see the northern lights,
In your
right?
windows.
From our window, we're all comfy. We're not out there in the cold. Come on.
Right, right. So, a couple of years later, my friend was like, "We should go." You know, something was going on with like her family trip, and she's like, "You and I talked about this. Let's go." I was like, "Sure, of course, why not? I love to go to Iceland." Unfortunately, something happened with her passport, and then they ended up changing when they were going to go. But I like already booked my flight, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go." There were some things happening with work. There were a lot of like emotional things that were going on. Um, and that trip actually was just like the perfect timing, which in my mind, I feel like it was like an escape, right? I need
Yeah,
this thing.
right.
Um, but it ended up being such a really cool lesson in the end. So I tell my friend I'm going without her. Um, thanks for the
Yeah,
idea. I'm
you
going without
gotta
you. Kind
go.
of,
I know
I
that
know
that's
over a
sometimes
trip.
hard to do for a lot of us, but I'm glad you just like decided, hey, it's speaking to me, I gotta go, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I have to thank her for the idea to like remember you said that thing. So I'm on my way to Iceland, get there. And like before I got there, I'm doing all this research, right? I'm prepping, I'm getting ready. I want to look things up. Um, and just being there was such a peaceful, like, event. So everything that I thought I was like trying to like sort out and what cab am I going to get? And it was just like, oh yeah, everything made sense, right? You get there, people are like,
Oh,
hello, welcome. Where the planes usually land, it's like maybe 45 minutes to an hour away from the capital. So that's an easy drive. You're just taking a look at everything else. You get there and it was such a cute little town or little city, I should say. But I think that was like immediately rewarded for going on this trip by myself. And I had to change certain things that we would have done as a group. And then I
yeah.
had to make it like, all right, well, what does Grace want to do? How do I want to experience Iceland, this place that it's been in the
Yeah.
back of my mind, and I want to enjoy it. So I was able to kind of recreate what we were going to do, add a few things. Um, I think since that trip, or maybe before, I always try to add like some sort of wellness piece
Oh,
to it. So,
nice.
like,
Yeah.
schedule a massage or whatever. And I went to this spa. So, there was a spa day included and all that. So, and that was kind of the start. I guess that was my first international solo trip. Um, yeah, and it was quite a healing and like revealing experience, which are the lessons that I took back. And so that's what I teach now is like, yes, we
Yeah.
can enjoy travel, we can have this wonderful experience, but there's so many different like developmental nuggets that you can learn and bring them back with you. I think that's kind of the meaningful part is you're blending that rest and growth at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. And I think for a lot of people, they don't even realize they need that time away to discover themselves or refine themselves or,
Yeah.
just, all of that kind of recharge. We get so caught up in that whole, schedule and the day to day that we sometimes don't take time for ourselves.
No, and I think people always try to like finish whatever it is they're doing, right? Like, let me just knock this out real quick. Let me start this business. Let me lose this weight. Let me whatever. Let me get ready. And then I'll go on this trip. And it's like, no, 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 you need to do it now
Yeah,
because you get creativity out of that. You get some appreciation for yourself. You get all the things that you're trying so hard to do before you reward yourself with a trip.
right.
You
Yeah,
can get on this trip.
right. And I think reward sometimes is kind of a misnomer too, because sometimes you just need a definite life change. Things aren't
Yeah.
going, something inside you is telling you you're not happy, circumstances, whatever it is, and sometimes escaping. And it doesn't, I think that's the other thing. People don't always think, they think travel means it has to be super expensive, and it really
Yes.
doesn't.
Yes. Yeah. So my first like actual solo thing was there are these cabins, they've renamed themselves now. They used to be called getaway cabins. And I think they're now called postcard cabins or something like that. Anyway,
Oh,
gorgeous little trailers that are like these little mini cabins. They're like one of their slogans, they have everything you need and nothing you don't, right? They even include like a small little box for you to put your phone in and enjoy
oh,
being in a non-Wi-Fi space. But again, I think it was around that same time or a couple years before Iceland. So still at this job, I'm really frustrated. I'm like questioning my whole life and all these things are going on. I was like, I just need a break. And I had found those cabins and I thought, yeah, why not? It was a simple drive up to Ohio from where I am in Maryland and a nice little drive up there. I had my dog with me and I just spent like 3 days, I think,
oh,
up
wow.
there. And it was so nice. They give you books to read. I brought my own books. You
Oh,
have
wow.
journals and you just like enjoy doing nothing, enjoy being in nature, right?
Yeah,
Um, and that I think was like that. I need a personal wellness like experience. I need to do this more often. Like you said, because there are times where you need to recover, you need to just relax. You don't need to do anything. It didn't cost as much. Like, and I
yeah,
didn't need to escape, get on a plane and go anywhere. I just simple drive.
right.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
What are some tips you have for women that, well, I know we lean towards women because I think women, we innately feel, I don't know if it's biological, we kind of feel unsafe alone. I don't know. There's that piece where we feel like, oh no, I'm not going to be safe. So, and yet women do more traveling and do more travel planning statistically than men. So,
Yeah.
what are some tips for women to kind of get over that fear factor, so to speak, and just take themselves out and go somewhere?
I think so. Sometimes women are afraid for good reason, right? Either from a
Yeah.
past experience
Oh,
or
exactly.
just you're surrounded by other terrible stories. And so I think making sure you're researching places, like if you do want to have that first solo experience, you want to look at places that are known to be safe. So when I was in Iceland, I want to say it was like number one or number two
I think it
safest country
is.
in the
I
entire
think
world.
it is. Yeah.
Just, I'm putting that out there, right? So just know that yes, I definitely did do my research, and that's always the first thing. But I think, and then you're trying to when like the different activities that you're trying to do, you can start with like a group tour.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is one of my favorite things. Wherever I'm going, I always try to do a food tour like the first day.
Oh, I
I
love
am
food tours.
always tired. Me too. I'm always tired. I'm always like, it's going to be so great. And then I'm like, I just landed today. Why did I do this? One day I'll learn. But what I love about this is you're in a group with people who have either been there already, maybe they're just as new as you. And so that's a great way to connect with other people. But also, you're able to check things out in a group
Yes.
versus that first or second day that you're there, you're just kind of looking around. You look like the tourist, right? You're trying to take everything in, you're taking all these pictures. So doing your research first, when you get there, looking for a tour group so that you're walking with other people. And then the other thing is just being mindful of your surroundings. You can enjoy where you are. Some people, I had a friend who said it like this, and I think it's a great reminder. People who are pickpocketers, like that is their job.
Oh, yeah, totally.
They're it is that is their job, that is their career, that is their life source, right? So we don't want to make it easier for them.
No.
And so just being mindful of like the certain type of bags, or like again, you don't want to be walking around, looking around, taking pictures. Just be a little slick, so that you're able to maybe the first or second day you're not doing those pictures. Third, fourth, you're a little bit more comfortable. You know the streets. You've already looked it up on your phone. You know where you're going. Whatever. You look like a pro. So you just take that time to blend into where you are. I think so that also that concern of fear is just, I haven't done it and I
Right.
don't know what to expect. And so
Right.
you want to start with, first off, why are you traveling? Right. So looking into that intention, what do you want out of this trip? Um, I think for when I went on that like little cabin experience, that was my brain is completely overwhelmed and I just need to detach for a few days.
Right.
Right. When I went to Iceland, I kind of wanted to explore. I wanted to see what I could do. I wanted to challenge myself. Right. So there was like a little bit of like, those are the things that I looked forward to doing. And I built my trip around that. Um, so I think you can go in and be nice. You can be nervous, right? It's
Yeah.
okay. That's normal. But remembering to plan according to what that intention or what you want to get out of it, it helps then because you're setting yourself up with things that are familiar. So I know I planned this event. I know what to expect. I know I'm going to have that food tour later. So that's
Yeah.
fun. And then it also, especially with the food tour, something like that, it kind of helps with that concern of loneliness
Yes.
when you're going to be or you're doing a solo trip. We're worried you're going to get lonely. No one's going to talk to me. People will talk to you.
Yeah.
People will talk to you. But that's kind of the good thing. And again, you make that decision. Do you want to engage or not? But yeah, I think as you travel and then the more you get into it, the more empowered you feel. I always get nervous when I'm flying just because that's my life.
You know
Um,
what? I think we all do. I think a lot of us
yeah,
do. Even if we're like comfortable, whether you're meeting someone or taking a group tour, it's just flying. I think, just the uncertainty again. I think for most of us, that's kind of normal, thankfully.
yeah, it is. It is. So planning, knowing what you want out of the trip, I think those are some good ways to kind of help that nervousness.
Do you have a couple of places you suggest for travelers that you've enjoyed yourself for solo travel?
Yes. So this year I went to Mexico. There's a place in Mexico. It's in the desert. And when I describe this, I need you to understand that I love the water a lot.
I do
Born in
too.
California, right? Like I'm always on the coast somewhere. I love being able to have access to the water. I saw this place on like a travel channel or something like that. And I was like, I kind of want to go. It's in the middle of the desert. So San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, is this wonderful little town that is,
Wow.
it's the heart of the Mexican Revolution. Um,
Interesting.
there are a lot of different places that are building like their wellness retreats and all that. So they're very, if that's the kind of like feel that you want, right? Something that's relaxing, but there's also some excitement and a huge look into the culture. San
Yeah.
Miguel is a wonderful place. And it's definitely like a place that I would suggest to go solo. Iceland's definitely up there. Again, it's really safe. There's so much to do. There's so much to do there. It's a tiny island, but you can break it up and take your time and just, again, what do you want out of this trip? And you'll find an experience that aligns with it. I would also suggest Portugal.
Oh, wow.
So, depending on what your vibe is, I think I'm kind of in the middle. So, I don't, I like the city, but I don't really want anything that's too crowded. But I also like when it's a bit quiet or there's something to do, right? So I
Yeah.
think Porto for me was the best of both worlds. It's a city. There were things happening. There were buildings being built, and I could sit for hours in a park that was very quiet. Like there's like a nice blend of
Yeah.
those.
Maybe you
Um,
should go to Porto because that's like on my list too to of
is it?
places to go. Yeah, because you've probably watched it too, that show Feed Phil, and that's one I hadn't even
Yes.
really, I hadn't even like thought about Porto or anything about it, and then he did this whole amazing episode, and I'm like, why haven't we heard about this place? I mean, it looks as good as Paris. I mean, come on.
It's an adorable place. I will. My warning to everyone is bring good shoes.
Okay.
These streets are made of cobblestone, and the hills are steep. I think it was like my fourth or fifth day there. I went last year in February. It was my birthday celebration.
Oh,
And so
fun.
I'm walking up the hill, and there's this woman who's like maybe 80 something walking next to me, and homegirl is at, full speed. And I'm just like trying to breathe.
Yeah,
And she just kind of
exactly.
looked, she just looked so kindly at me, like, you'll be okay. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah. I want to fall over and stop,
just
and you
hold
just,
me, ma'am.
yeah, exactly. Just take my hand because I don't know if I'm gonna make it another cobblestone. Oh man.
But it's nice. It's really nice. So Porto is where they make port wine.
Oh,
And so they have all these little oh dear, like breweries, and they have the caves, or they actually like have their different companies on either side of this river. It's amazing.
oh
Really
wow.
great for walking around, kind of exploring things as well. But yeah, and of course the food is wonderful.
And
Absolutely
February was
wonderful.
probably was the weather like cool or was it, comfortable? Because it's February is nice because it's off season, it's not
Yes.
full of
Yeah.
people.
There were some people, but it wasn't as crowded as it would have been during the summer, right?
Yeah.
And so it was funny because they kept like people like, oh, you should have come in June. We've got this festival, we've got that. And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's too. Um, this is perfect. This
Yeah,
is not as
exactly.
crowded. This is wonderful. So I think maybe just again, if that's your season, or maybe you want more activities, more of the festivals or the summer parties, then you could aim for summertime. But yeah, I thought the weather was fantastic. Um, you maybe needed like a coat, a light coat or jacket in the morning. Midday, you're sweating, and then towards the evening, you need to put the jacket back on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds fabulous. Oh my gosh, all these amazing places. They sound so cool. So I do know you have a retreat that you're planning. Tell us a little bit about the retreat, who it might be good for. Tell us what's coming up with that.
Yeah. So I'm adding on retreats of this business of mine. And so it's cultivating confidence wellness retreats. The idea is that this is an opportunity for you to step away. And I was talking about intentionality,
Yeah.
stepping away for people who struggle with like self doubt, imposter syndrome, especially in the workplace. It's difficult to work on those issues, especially when they're rooted in your emotional wellness, when you're in it, like when you're
Yeah.
in the thing that is just like bothering or disturbing you, right? Or triggering those concerns. So this is an opportunity for women to step away and just work on what those emotional problems are. Let's get really clear on those boundaries, or I'm sorry, on those barriers. We want you to establish boundaries.
Yeah.
Um, and, so, and that's the idea. This is a mix of like rest and then development. So I'm going to be doing a few workshops, again, walking you through 3 different phases of emotional healing. But then the rest of the experience is we're doing yoga, we're doing meditations, we're going to have dance, there's going to be live music. This
Oh,
is
wow.
a opportunity for you to just dive in and relax. If you want to kind of do your own thing and just like sit in a corner and journal, you're more than welcome to. But there are so many activities that I think would just like kind of tease that challenge out of you, right? So,
Yes.
maybe you don't have an opportunity to go hang out on a lagoon. Now you can, and you enjoy that experience. And my hope is that everyone leaves one with an action plan of, again, this is where we started, this is what we're going to. And then also you have that memory of this is what I look like when I'm at peace and I'm
Right.
rest. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it sounds so beautiful and so amazing.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So how many women are you opening this up for?
So this is going to be for 15 women. I just want to keep it nice and small, nice and snug, because there are going to be opportunities for people to talk and exchange stories. And so I think a smaller group would just be ideal. And I
Yeah.
have to say the location is in Bacalar, and
Okay.
so it's this gorgeous, like the retreat center. They have these little homes or little rooms where they're A-frame hut.
Oh,
And
wow.
you have the opportunity to kind of look at the lagoon, maybe a little bit farther in, like tucked into this jungle area. King size beds, bathrooms that are near the bed. Like I just,
It sounds so plush and amazing.
and that's kind of the idea too, is that sometimes we don't really treat ourselves to the full relaxation or just luxury of
Yeah.
rest.
Right.
I think I'm a proponent of naps, but I also think that you could rest somewhere and stretch yourself out, and you would have even more of a healing experience if you're able to just like, okay, I am completely stepping away from my day to day. I'm getting out of my
Yes.
routine, and I'm able to just work on the person that I hope to be. And there's also going to be a challenge, I think, to each person, especially when we're talking about an imposter syndrome or self doubt. Sometimes we equate our worth to what we do, what we do as a job or what we do for other people. And it's
Yeah.
really difficult for us to take that look on the inside and say, okay, yeah, no, I am worth it. So that's what I hope people walk away from, this extra luxurious experience, but like you get to know who you really are.
Right. Oh, I think it's fabulous that you've put this together and that you're offering it. So if people want to connect with you, Grace, and have more questions or sign up for the retreat, do you have still space? I take that this is happening in 2025.
Yes, it is. So it's going to go from May 8th through the 12th, 2025. And if anyone wants to connect with me, you can either look on the website at amethystpalaverhut.com, or you can send an email to random.wonderful.podcast at Gmail. Forget my own email.
I know it's hard.
Um,
That's okay.
yeah, and just so you can either say retreat or I need some more information on the retreat. I'm happy to send you some information. Um, you're not going to go in unawares, so I do a pre-retreat call, and that just
Right.
helps me help you like figure out what goals we're going to work on, but also what excursion do you want to participate in and the food that we're going to eat and all that. So you and I are going to talk before
Right.
you actually go on this retreat.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. Yeah, and it gives people to be, speak with you one on one too and find
Exactly.
out, that it's a good match and kind of take away some of those pre-trip jitters that we all
Yeah,
end up having. Because a lot of people
exactly.
haven't explored Mexico, to be honest. They don't realize that there's all these different areas of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people, we listen to the news and, they just, which is so unfortunate. You got to turn that off first.
You need a break. You
Yeah,
need a good mental break. Yeah. I think that's why like your podcast is helpful then, because people have the opportunity to hear from other people who have been there. You can kind
yeah.
of share from that firsthand experience. So yeah, thank you for
Oh, of
helping
course.
others who, if they're
Yeah.
just depending on the news to learn about, locations or people. That's why
Well,
we
and I,
travel.
right, it's why we travel, and that's why I like connecting with other travelers and like retreat operators and authors because there's so much more that's out there that are amazing experiences. I think that because the internet is kind of overloaded, you really have to
Mm.
like hunt and you can spend a lot of time. So I'm so happy to connect with people like yourself, Grace, that are offering something unique, personal, small group where you really can do more than just see an amazing location.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us the website one more time.
It is Amethyst, and I can spell so Amethyst Palaver Hut.com.
And I'll put that in the show notes too, so you can connect with Grace and
Yes.
maybe join her on this amazing experience. So thank you,
Yeah,
Grace.
there's
It's been
space.
wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.